The system finished announcing my victory before the blood dried on my deck. Level for Ironwake hull registered. Founder Kai Mercer. Sector broadcast active. 11 hours, 58 minutes. The words hung above the forward mast in cold blue light. Beyond them, dawn spread gold across an ocean crowded with wreckage. A dead reef maw rolled beneath the surface. Captain Rusk's broken boarding skiff burned low against our armor belt. Farther out, the last shapes from the deep-sea invasion were sinking back into the dark. Fortune's wake had survived. That did not mean she was safe. The Level 4 hull was larger than everything I had owned in my first 24 years combined, and half of it was making noises a finished ship should not make. The dark blue keel groaned when the swell lifted us. Water hissed through a split, seamed near the starboard workshop wall. One mast brace had bent just enough to turn every gust into a slow metallic complaint. Lena Shore stood barefoot beside the damaged brace with one hand pressed to her bandaged ribs. Her mustard jacket was torn at the left elbow and dark with seawater. A blue patch covered the worst of the damage, though the stitching looked like it had been done during an earthquake. Copper-brown hair had escaped her braid and stuck to her freckles. The cut along her right calf had bled through its bandage. She tapped the brace with her folding hammer, closed her green eyes, and activated true bearing. A narrow line of pale light traveled from her palm into the ship. "The brace is ugly," she said. "That is a structural term? It is when I'm tired." Her eyes opened. "The brace is ugly. The keel is stable. The dangerous failure is the workshop bulkhead." It took the upgrade load before the surrounding frame finished registering. I looked toward the leak. "How long? Before it fails? Before I can pretend we have time for breakfast?" 7 minutes. I opened the inventory and started moving treated wood, resin, and metal straps to the workshop hatch. Pain pulled across my right shoulder. Rusk had driven me into the harpoon mount hard enough to bruise the joint, and every lift now felt like a hook beneath the bone. My left forearm still carried the bite scrape from the first sea beast I had killed. My palms had stopped blistering days ago and graduated to cracking instead. None of those injuries made the priority list. Lena blocked the hatch with her inspection hammer. "What?" I asked. "You are carrying the straps with one arm." "Efficiently." "Badly. That is also a structural term." "Move the resin." "I'll take the metal." "Your ribs are bruised. Your shoulder is injured." We can compare medical failures after the wall stops trying to become a door. She stepped past me before I could calculate a better objection. Brand's broad amber form appeared at the forward defensive station. The shield hand Echo rested both translucent hands on his tower shield. He could hold the deck against boarding, train me until my muscles failed, and detect movement across the registered perimeter. He could not leave his station long enough to rebuild a bulkhead. 3 vessels approaching the broadcast radius, he said. I pulled up the navigation display. 3 marks moved toward us from the south. Then 5 more appeared to the east. 8 ships had found the new sector announcement in less than 5 minutes. World chat was worse. The Level 4 achievement had broadcast my approximate coordinates to every survivor. It had also reminded the ocean that I controlled an incomplete Ironwake blueprint, 2 founder laws, clean water production, and the first ship powerful enough to challenge harbor chain patrols. Messages stacked faster than I could read them. Sell the blueprint. Harbor chain is offering protection to anyone near Mercer's sector. Open wake traders, go dark. They hit Myra's water raft 10 minutes ago. Kai, my contract mark is on their list. The last message came from Nora Pike, the older exchange broker who had turned my early water listings into a network instead of a rumor. I opened our private channel. How many marked traders are exposed? I asked. Her answer arrived immediately. Every seller who used the open cistern verification note this week. Harbor chain agents are cross-referencing public trades. Lena set the metal straps beside the leaking wall. Silas isn't hunting only you. He is hunting the people who made me useful. That is not the same thing. It is from his side of the ledger. I expanded the map. Independent rafts were already breaking away from the sector in random directions. Random movement felt safe when someone knew your coordinates. On the endless wake, it was usually a slower form of drowning. The current field north of US would split in 2 hours. The western branch entered open water with no shelter. The eastern branch passed through harbor chain patrol space. Anyone fleeing blindly would choose between weather and death. Silas understood that. He did not need to catch every trader. He only needed the frightened ones to decide his route was the only route. I selected a moving coordinate 16 kilometers southwest of our current position and attached a narrow trade window. Lena watched the values appear. You are opening a market while our wall leaks. I am opening a rendezvous. Public. Verified contracts only. Coordinate releases after both sides lock identity marks. Water at the same emergency rate as yesterday. Repair materials paid at posted value. No debt claims. No ownership transfers. And when harbor chain sees the traffic, the coordinate moves. I typed the final condition. No vessel may require crew service, blueprint rights, or future water share as the price of rescue. Lena read it twice. That is a law, she said. It is a contract. Enough people follow a contract, and the difference gets expensive. I published the corridor packet to Nora and 6 verified traders. The response was not immediate. People in this world had learned to distrust generous offers because generosity was how debt began. Then the first identity mark locked. A survivor named Dima offered sailcloth and requested 2 liters of water. Another offered metal rivets for dried fish. Nora posted her broker seal. Within 30 seconds, 14 vessels had accepted the moving rendezvous terms. The southern marks on our map changed course. They were not coming for the achievement. They were following the corridor. You just made us the most visible ship in the sector, Lena said. The system already did that. So your answer is to become easier to find? I looked through the open hatch at the approaching silhouettes. They were small rafts, damaged cutters, and one patched level 2 deck towing a second hull with no mast. None could survive a harbor chain inspection alone. My answer is to make sure finding us means something other than surrender. The workshop bulkhead cracked. Lena and I moved at the same time. She drove the first strap into place while I sealed the lower seam. Water sprayed across my face. The deck rolled, my shoulder failed, and the resin container slipped from my hand. Lena caught it against her injured ribs and went white. I grabbed the container back. You should be in bed. You should stop deciding which risks belong to me. The words landed harder than the wave. Before I could answer, Brand turned toward the southern horizon. Contact count increasing, he said. 23 registered hulls. For unknown. 2 bearing harbor chain markings. Lena tightened the last bolt and leaned against the wall while True Bearing's pale lines spread through the repair. The workshop stopped shaking. Stable, she said. For now. I looked from the white chain sails to the independent vessels gathering behind us. Fortune's Wake had reached level for less than 10 minutes ago. Our first job as the strongest ship in the sector was not hunting monsters or celebrating a world first. It was proving that safe harbor did not have to come with an owner. By noon, our moving corridor had become a market, a repair line, and 3 arguments about what counted as fair collateral. I trusted the arguments more than silence. 27 vessels traveled in a loose crescent around Fortune's Wake. None were attached to us. That was the point. Each captain kept control of their own hull, inventory, route, and contracts. We shared only verified coordinates, emergency prices, and threat reports. The first thing the corridor traded was not water. It was certainty. One captain posted the true depth of a debris field after 2 others exaggerated it to discourage competition. A level 2 family raft shared a working pattern for reinforcing sail corners with common rope. Nora created a warning mark for listings that changed price after a distress call. I added a public record showing how many liters our water plant could produce before maintenance, because unlimited promises were just debt contracts written from the other side. Small routines formed around the moving formation. Morning position checks. Midday repair windows. Evening inventory notices. No one had to participate, but the vessels that did stopped losing supplies to the same avoidable mistakes. Lena turned the forward workshop into an inspection lane. Captains transmitted structure scans, and she identified which damage needed immediate work and which ugly repairs could wait. She refused payment from the first three until I pointed out that free expert labor would make the system depend on her exhaustion. We settled on a posted inspection price with emergency waivers. You charged me for being generous, she said. I charged the network for keeping you alive. Very romantic. That was not the accounting category. The corner of her mouth lifted. At the galley table, we tested identity challenges that harbor chain spies could not answer from public records. Favorite food was useless. Half the world wanted bread. Earth addresses revealed too much. We chose small facts created inside the corridor, which sailed toward during the second westward turn, who had traded the cracked blue kettle, what insult Nora used when a broker listed wet rope as dry. The answer to the last question required its own sensor setting. Brand trained volunteers to respond to boarding without crowding the rail. He remained inside his station tether, demonstrating shield angles with the seriousness of a general preparing an army. When a 12-year-old on a nearby family raft copied his stance using a cooking tray, Brand studied the channel image. Shield coverage inadequate, he said. The child's face fell. Brand added, foot position acceptable. The tray returned to guard position. Warm moments did not make the ocean gentle. They made the danger worth organizing against. The arrangement looked disorganized from a distance. Up close, it ran on rules stricter than anything the harbor chain offered. Every trade used 2 identity marks. Every coordinate packet expired after 90 minutes. Every rescue contract stated its maximum price before help began. Any claim on future labor, blueprint ownership, or water production invalidated the open wake seal. Nora Pike handled the exchange board from a reinforced level 2 deck 3 kilometers behind us. Her profile picture showed silver hair, sharp eyes, and the expression of someone who had survived decades of customer service before being dropped into an ocean apocalypse. Your escrow rule is too slow, she told me over the private channel. It takes 18 seconds. People being chased by armed cutters develop opinions about 18 seconds. People who skip verification develop opinions about theft. Then give me authority to pre-clear repeat traders. I checked the proposal. Nora wanted a rotating broker key limited to small emergency trades. It would let her approve known participants without waiting for my mark. My first instinct was to calculate what happened if her key was stolen. My second was to calculate what happened if every decision still required me. Lena stood at the navigation table beside me, wearing a fresh bandage around her ribs and the same stubborn expression she had used on the broken bulkhead. She had slept for 43 minutes. I knew because I had counted. You are staring at delegation like it insulted your mother, she said. I never knew my mother well enough to compare. Her expression softened, then sharpened again. That was unfairly effective. I use what I have. Nora's proposal? Limited value. Expiring key. Public audit log. And she can issue it without me. Terrifying. I approved the broker key. Nora sent back a single message. Look at that. Personal growth before lunch. The corridor shifted west with the current. Our high blue and gold sail pulled against a steady crosswind while the advanced drive kept the damaged hull from drifting north. The level 4 navigation cabin could track nearby registered vessels, weather pressure, and known sector boundaries. It could not tell me whether the calm gray line ahead was harmless mist or a wall of knives. Lena placed her palm on the navigation table. True bearing did not activate. Completed structures only, she said. The ocean remains offensively unfinished. File a complaint. With the silent entity that kidnapped 6 billion people, it has excellent response times. A system alert opened above the table. Regional contract dispute. Vessel AO 019 claims salvage rights over vessel AO 044. Nora's voice came through a moment later. I need both of you on this one. We brought the 2 captains into a shared channel. The first, Burr Holt, had towed a damaged raft through the morning swell. He claimed half its inventory under the rescue agreement. The second, a young woman named Suri, said she had agreed only to pay rope and water. Burin displayed a contract with a salvage clause buried beneath 6 collapsed menus. It was legal by the system's standards. Both identity marks were present. Lena's jaw tightened. You hid an ownership transfer inside the equipment list. She accepted, Burin said. I risked my hull. Then charge for the risk, I said. Do not pretend the price was rope. The system recognizes the claim. The system recognizes murder-generated raft cores. Recognition is not approval. Burin laughed once. And what happens if I keep what the contract gives me? Your ghost guard comes aboard. Bran stood 3 meters away at his defensive station, broad and silent behind his tower shield. No, I said. You keep it. Suri stared at me through the channel window. Then I revoked Burin's corridor seal. His access to the moving coordinate packet vanished. So did his broker privileges, emergency price listings, and shared threat reports. Your vessel remains yours, I said. So does the inventory the system says you own. Everyone else gets to know how you acquired it. Nora posted the contract and its hidden clause to the public audit board. Within a minute, 6 traders canceled Burin's open offers. He cursed me, Suri, the system, and the general decline of business ethics. Then he returned most of the cargo in exchange for a fair towing fee and asked how long reinstatement would take. 3 clean contracts, Nora said before I could answer. I looked at Lena. Too easy. I asked. No. Consequences without confiscation. You sound surprised. I am learning the difference between your face and your decisions. The remark warmed something in my chest I did not have time to inspect. An alarm sounded from the deck. Bran raised his shield toward a cutter approaching from the north. Its sail carried no chain mark. A man stood at the bow waving both arms while smoke leaked from his stern housing. Drive fire, he shouted over an open channel. I need suppression resin. I checked his identity mark. Registered name, Jace Oren. Level 3 cutter. Affiliation field blank. The blank looked recently edited. Lena saw it too. Harbor chain. Former or hidden. Jace's cutter yacht. Flames pushed through the stern vent. 3 smaller rafts followed behind him, close enough to be caught if the drive housing exploded. I sent the corridor emergency protocol. Cut propulsion. Turn 30 degrees east. Other vessels break south. Jace, grant temporary module access. He hesitated. Now, Lena said. The authority in her voice moved him faster than mine did. His module schematic opened. The housing fire was real. So was the Black Harbor Chain contract tablet mounted beneath his navigation panel. I released suppression resin through a one-use transfer and ordered him to dump the burning fuel cell. I can't, he said. It is collateral. It is on fire. If I destroy pledged equipment, my debt converts to service years. The stern vent burst. Lena seized the channel. Jace, listen to me. Release the lower clamp manually. You have 12 seconds before the fire reaches your control lines. They will take my raft. If you keep that cell, the ocean will take it first. He disappeared below the rail. For 9 seconds, nothing changed. Then the fuel cell dropped into the wake and burned blue beneath the surface. Suppression resin flooded the housing. The flames collapsed. Jace returned to the bow coughing. Thank you, he said. His contract tablet lit black. Harbor chain collateral breach. Vessel repossession authorized. 2 white chain sails appeared on the northern horizon. They had not followed the fire. They had been waiting for the contract to trigger. Lena looked at the approaching patrols. Manufactured emergency? I studied the timing, the resin failure, and the 3 vulnerable rafts placed behind Jace's burning cutter. Maybe, but the fire could still have killed him. Jace's face had gone pale. You don't understand. They will call this rescue. The 2 patrol vessels accelerated. I moved Fortune's wake between them and the corridor. Then we should make sure everyone sees the price. The harbor chain patrol opened with paperwork. A formal claim window appeared above our navigation table before either ship entered harpoon range. Vessel AU 0197, registered to Jace Oren, is subject to lawful repossession. Interference will be recorded as piracy. The document contained 23 pages of contract history, 6 emergency food advances, 2 repair loans, and a protection fee that increased every time Jace entered a dangerous sector. It was the kind of debt designed to become more accurate the longer someone failed to escape it. The patrol commander appeared in a public channel. He wore a cheaper version of Silas Crow's white and black coat, and kept one hand on the rail as his cutter crossed the swell. "Founder Mercer," he said, "this matter does not concern you." Behind me, 27 independent vessels were listening. "You said a burning fuel cell as collateral," I said. "We financed critical equipment. The debtor destroyed secured property. The secured property tried to destroy him first. The contract anticipated risk." "Yes, yours." The second patrol vessel moved wide, trying to flank Jace's cutter. Brand shifted his tower shield toward it. Warm amber light spread across the forward defensive station, but he did not leave his registered post. The commander smiled without warmth. "You are protecting a thief." Jace flinched at the word. I sent Nora the full contract record and opened a public audit feed. Every payment, penalty, and collateral clause appeared in chronological order. The harbor chain had given Jace food during the Sub-Zero trial. He had repaid 3 times its original value. The balance had still grown. "I am protecting his right to see the price before agreeing to it," I said. He saw it. "Then you will not object to everyone else seeing it too." The audit feed spread through regional chat. Messages began to appear from other harbor chain debtors. Some defended the contracts. The chain had fed them when no one else would. Some posted balances that could never be paid. A few accused Jace of weakness for signing. That was Silas's most useful trick. He made survival feel like a favor and debt feel like a character test. The patrol commander raised his hand. Both cutters armed deck harpoons. "Final warning," he said. I marked 3 withdrawal coordinates and transmitted them openly. "Your crews can leave through any of those routes," I said. "No one will pursue. Jace's ownership dispute goes to a neutral broker review. If you fire, we defend." The commander's expression did not change, but 2 people on his rear deck looked at each other. "You cannot void registered debt." I did not say I could. "Then your offer is meaningless." "No. It means your crew gets a choice before you spend their lives enforcing it." The first harbor chain harpoon fired. Brand caught it on his shield. The impact drove amber light across the deck in a hard ring. The cable went taut between the ships. Before the patrol could engage its winch, I fired the founder harpoon into the water beside its bow. Boundless Fortune activated inside Fortune's Wake's registered hull the instant the trigger mechanism rolled its penetration angle. The best valid result did not strike a person. It struck the patrol's exposed steering vane beneath the waterline. The cutter spun broadside. "Return fire limited to propulsion and weapons," I ordered. Lena was already at the damage control board. "Second vessel is moving behind us. Its forward mount is unstable. One hit near the left brace disables it. Can you reach the brace without hitting the hull?" "If you trust my angle." I handed her the secondary harpoon control. For a fraction of a second, neither of us moved. Before Lena boarded Fortune's Wake, she had been a voice through an exchange window. I had followed her structural advice because the numbers made sense. Now she stood beside me on the same deck, injured, exhausted, and asking for control of a weapon attached to my hull. My instinct was to keep the risk. I released the control lock. "Your angle," I said. Lena fired. The bolt crossed behind Fortune's Wake and struck the exact brace she had marked. The enemy harpoon mount folded sideways without piercing the deck. Its crew scattered. One raised both hands. The first cutter recovered enough steering to pull against Brand's captured cable. Its commander shouted an order, and 3 boarding lines launched toward us. Brand cut 2 from the air. The third hooked our armor belt. 4 harbor chain recruits clipped onto the line. Jace opened a private channel. "The commander will not stop. His contract pays him if he brings my core back." "Your RAF core?" "My registered vessel. Not one from my death." The ship itself. The distinction mattered. So did the terror in his face. I ordered the corridor vessels farther south, then looked through the boarding scope. The first recruit on the line could not have been older than 19. His hands shook around a boarding axe. A black deck collar mark pulsed on his status window. Committed attacker and willing attacker were not always the same category. Brand, I said. Non-lethal stop. Risk increases. Understood. The shield hand planted his tower shield at the rail. When the recruits reached our hull boundary, Amber Force struck the boarding line like a hammer. 3 dropped into the water inside inflated safety tethers. The 4th slammed against the armor belt and lost his axe. The patrol commander cut their recovery line. He was willing to drown his own recruits to keep pulling our ship off balance. I fired the collection winch. Its net caught 2 of the swimmers. Lena redirected an independent cutter to the other 2. The enemy commander saw the rescue and used it as cover to launch another harpoon. This one aimed at Lena. I pulled her down. The bolt crossed the navigation cabin and shattered a pressure window behind us. Pain tore through my bruised shoulder when we hit the deck. Lena rolled upright first. You are done hiding that injury. After the battle. That is what you said before the battle. The commander accelerated toward Jace. His bow had been reinforced for collision. He no longer cared about lawful repossession. He intended to break the cutter, recover its registered core, and call the wreck a contract remedy. I could stop him by striking the cabin. With my luck acting through the founder harpoon, the shot would find the best valid result. That result might kill him. Level 5 waited somewhere beyond the current menu. I knew what higher hull registrations required. More power, rarer materials. Raft cores created only when one registered survivor killed another in direct vessel conflict. The system had already taught me how easily self-defense could become progress. I refused to let progress choose the shot. I aimed at the water beneath the patrol's collision bow. The harpoon struck a submerged ridge of ghost glass coral I had not seen. The impact shattered its upper branch. The patrol vessel climbed the broken shelf, rolled hard, and lost its collision angle. Jace's cutter slipped past with less than a meter between their rails. The enemy commander fell, but lived. His remaining crew stopped fighting. I broadcast the withdrawal routes again. Leave your weapons locked, I said. Recover your people. No pursuit. For 5 seconds, nobody moved. Then the young recruit in our collection net raised his identity mark and accepted. One by one, the others followed. The patrol commander cursed them from the tilted deck. He tried to rearm the bow harpoon alone. His own engineer disabled the mount. Both harbor chain cutters withdrew. No one died. No raft core formed. The level 5 requirement remained unmet, and I felt relief before disappointment could become useful. Jace's cutter drifted beside Fortune's wake. He stared at the blank affiliation field on his profile. They will call me a deserter now, he said. Are you? Lena asked. He looked at the route the patrols had taken. I don't know what I am. Then do not sign a new label today, I said. Repair your drive. Pay for the resin when you can. Keep your hull. Jace swallowed. What do you get? A trader who knows the next contract price before accepting it. Behind us, Nora posted the full battle record and the surrender terms to the public audit board. The corridor had survived its first attack. More importantly, every frightened crew in the region had watched us offer a way out before we fired. Silas Crow had spent weeks teaching the ocean that safety required obedience. We had just shown the first piece of evidence that he was lying. Then every compass in the corridor turned north at the same time. Our actual heading was west. A pale fleet appeared along the empty horizon, its sails torn, its decks crowded with motionless silhouettes. The system opened a new countdown. Ghost Fleet trial active. Navigation integrity compromised. Trial duration 72 hours. The dead ships were not coming toward us. According to the map, we were already inside them. The first ghost ship passed through Nora Pike's raft without touching it. Her channel filled with static. For 3 seconds, her identity mark vanished from the exchange. Then the pale hull emerged from the other side and continued across the water as if neither vessel had existed. Nora came back swearing with enough precision to prove she was alive. Report, I said. Cold. Blind. Every screen showed a different coordinate. My inventory is intact, but the system says I traveled 40 kilometers east. She was still visible 2 kilometers behind us. The ghost fleet was not made of ordinary ships. Some were transparent. Others displaced real water and left wakes that pointed in impossible directions. Human shapes stood along their rails with heads bowed. When a survivor called to them, the nearest shape sometimes lifted its face and answered in a familiar voice. That was the cruelest part. Regional chat filled with people claiming to hear spouses, children, friends, and crewmates lost during the first trials. A woman south of us turned toward a pale cutter because her brother was calling from its deck. Her compass showed a safe western route. Every other ship saw her heading north. All corridor vessels cut independent navigation. I ordered. Follow visual signal flags only. Confirm every route through 2 other hulls. The order helped for 6 minutes. Then the horizon duplicated. 2 suns appeared behind thin clouds. Our wake split into 3 lines. The nearest vessels seemed to stretch apart, even while range sensors claimed they were closing. The Ghost Fleet did not merely give false coordinates. It attacked the idea that a shared direction existed. Bran remained at the forward station, shield raised. "Can you identify a threat crossing the hull?" I asked. "I can identify force." "Can you identify which force is real?" "After contact. Useful for a spear. Less useful for an ocean." Lena pressed both hands to the navigation cabin wall and activated true bearing. Pale lines spread through the completed structure, tracing the keel, mast, engine housing, and armor belt. "The ship is stable," she said. "The instrument readings are not part of the structure. I cannot tell which one is true." I opened 3 sealed navigation caches inside Fortune's Wake's hull boundary. Boundless Fortune guaranteed the best valid result from each uncertain salvage identification. The first contained a flawless storm compass. Its needle spun. The second contained a rare current prism. It showed 4 currents occupying the same water. The third produced an old chart station blueprint with half its assembly requirements missing. Luck could give me the best compass in the world. It could not make north exist when the trial had removed it. A distress flare rose ahead. Jace's voice followed. 3 rafts are breaking formation. They see a harbor. I saw it too. Warm lights burned along a dark shoreline less than a kilometer away. Wooden piers reached into calm water. Figures waved from beneath shelter roofs while smoke lifted from cooking fires. There had never been land in the endless wake. The smell of bread reached our deck. My stomach tightened before my brain rejected it. "No one approaches the shore," I said. One raft kept moving. Its captain shouted that his daughter was on the pier. Nora transmitted his registration history. He had entered this world alone. Lena grabbed the signal lamp and flashed the emergency pattern. The raft did not respond. I turned Fortune's Wake across its path. Our armor belt struck the smaller hull at an angle and pushed it away from the false harbor. The captain screamed at me while the shoreline folded upward like a reflection disturbed by wind. Beneath it waited black water spinning into a vertical current. The raft would have sailed over the edge. The captain stopped screaming. The system displayed the first trial rule. Ghost Fleet Condition 1. A remembered destination is not a verified destination. No explanation followed. The false harbor vanished, but the pale ships multiplied. We spent the next 8 hours moving less than 12 kilometers. Every route used physical tether intervals, timed signal lamps, and repeated identity checks. I divided the corridor into cells of 4 vessels. Each cell confirmed the others by hull damage, sail pattern, and a private fact established before the trial. No single captain held the complete moving route. The slow movement created problems the trial did not need to invent. Water consumption increased while solar stills failed beneath false cloud cover. Fishing lines returned with hooks tied into impossible knots. 2 rafts collided because each captain saw the other vessel 10 meters farther away. A pregnant survivor developed a fever on a deck with no medicine and no stable coordinate to receive a delivery. We handled each problem through physical chains of trust. Nora matched water inventories through the exchange without publishing locations. Jace carried repair resin between corridor cells using timed tethers instead of a compass. Lena talked a frightened captain through separating two fused rails while Bran counted real impacts against the hull. I opened medical caches aboard Fortune's Wake and received the best valid contents. But the antibiotics still had to cross 6 vessels hand to hand. Every transfer used a spoken confirmation and a lamp signal. The medicine moved through fog, ghost wakes, and voices calling people away from the rail. 40 minutes later, the receiving raft flashed 3 short lights. Delivered. The system awarded nothing. The fever began to fall anyway. A ghost skiff later copied the same 3-light pattern. It approached the receiving raft with the 6 survivors' voice asking for more water. The private identity question exposed it. The skiff passed through the formation and vanished. That was when everyone understood why the corridor rules could not depend on my judgment alone. I could not see every transfer. Nora could not verify every face. Lena could not inspect every hull. The cells worked because truth had to survive more than one person. We lost one empty supply raft when its tow line followed a false current. We lost a collection net, 2 fuel cells, and enough sailcloth to cover our workshop roof. We did not lose a survivor. By the 9th hour, people stopped calling the procedures delays. They called them the reason their neighbors were still visible. Silas had built control by making everyone depend on one answer. The trial punished us by making every answer suspect. Near sunset, a pale warship appeared directly ahead. Its deck held dozens of motionless survivors. One lifted his face. Captain Rusk looked back at me. The broken nose, iron black hair, square beard, and cheap harbor chaincoat were exact. Even the concealed spike remained in his right glove. "You needed my death," the echo said in Rusk's voice. "How many more upgrades will you call defense?" My hands tightened on the navigation rail. Lena stepped beside me. "That is not him. It knows enough. So does the public battle record." The Rusk echo smiled. Level 5 requires 3 cores. A red requirement window opened above it. Level 5 frigate core requirement. 3 PvP raft cores. Current verified cores, 1. The first core had formed when Rusk refused withdrawal and tried to drive a spike into my throat. It was installed deep in Fortune's Wake's registered keel. The trial made it pulse like a second heartbeat. 2 more deaths stood between us and the frigate. The pale Rusk held out his hand. Behind him, phantom crews pointed toward the corridor rafts. The ocean already sent you the materials. Bran's tower shield struck the deck. Amber light cut through the image. No force detected. The ghost warship passed through us. Cold filled the cabin. For one breath, I heard every person I had failed to save since arriving on the ocean. Most had never known my name. They were messages in regional chat that stopped mid-sentence, canceled water orders, empty identity marks. Then the cold released us. Lena's hand was wrapped around mine. Neither of us had decided to do it. She let go slowly. Still here, I checked the deck, the corridor, and the people who had trusted our moving signal lamps. Yes. Good. Because the chart station blueprint you opened is not incomplete. She expanded the schematic. The missing assembly requirements were moving across the page. They were not read. They were hidden beneath false coordinate layers. At the center of the blueprint, a card-shaped slot glowed silver. Chartmaker Station. Compatible echo signature detected within trial. The ghost fleet had trapped us inside false directions. Somewhere among those dead ships was an echo designed to draw a truthful map. We found the Chartmaker Station by refusing to search for it. Every deliberate route toward the silver signature bent away. The closer our instruments claimed we were, the farther the physical tether line stretched. So Lena and I stopped treating the trial like an ocean and started treating it like a damaged building. "A structure can lie about where a wall should be," she said. "But the load still travels somewhere." We mapped stress instead of distance. Each time a ghost hull crossed Fortune's Wake, the registered keel flexed by a measurable amount. Each false coordinate pulled current pressure in a different direction. Lena marked those forces on the workshop floor with chalk. I recorded their timing in my ledger. Bran called out every real impact. Nora's corridor cells supplied observations without sharing a single master route. The marks formed a spiral. At its quiet center, no compass reading changed at all. We let the current carry us there. A small pale survey vessel emerged from the fog. Unlike the other ghost ships, it cast a single honest shadow. Its deck was empty except for a sealed brass cabinet chained to a chart table. The system identified a salvage event the moment the cabinet crossed our registered hull boundary. Chance-based recovery, one of 12 content states. Boundless fortune settled the result. The cabinet became solid. Inside lay a silver echo card etched with a compass rose, 3 pressure glass lenses, and the missing anchor assembly for the chart station. None of it installed itself. Luck had supplied the best valid recovery. We still spent 9 hours building a berth that would not tear through the navigation cabin when the sea rolled. Lena worked in a fitted sea green coat taken from a rare clothing cache, its mustard lining folded back at the wrists. She had refused to replace her old rain jacket until we repaired the torn elbow and stored it in her cabin. A coat is not a retirement ceremony, I told her. It is when the previous coat survived an invasion. We should issue medals. Your hoodie gets one for services rendered as rope. The easy exchange covered the fact that both of us were exhausted. When I reached overhead to lock the anchor brace, my right arm stopped halfway. Pain flashed across my shoulder and the tool dropped. Lena caught it. Sit. The final brace will be installed by the structural engineer. You have bruised ribs, and you have been using inventory menus to hide every heavy lift from me. I sat. She wrapped the shoulder while explaining, in calm technical detail, how badly I had managed it. Her fingers were careful. That made the lecture worse. You do this with every risk, she said. You turn it into a private expense. Someone has to own the loss. Shared command means you do not get to hide the invoice. I looked away toward the ghost-lit window. If I tell you every danger, you will take half. Yes, that is the problem. No, Kai. That is the partnership. The word stayed between us after she tied the bandage. We finished the station together. When the silver echo card entered its berth, the navigation cabin lights dimmed. A woman formed above the chart table in translucent blue-white lines. She wore a long survey coat, her dark hair bound at the nape. Ink-like marks moved across her sleeves. I expected an introduction. She placed one finger on the blank chart. 3 black lines appeared. False. Unstable. Repeating. Iris. I asked. The echo inclined her head. Iris, chartmaker echo, did not speak. She communicated through marked charts and short system labels. Her station rules were as strict as brands. She could analyze navigation inputs registered aboard Fortune's wake. She could not see beyond supplied observations, predict arbitrary futures, or leave the chart berth for more than a short tether. Most importantly, she did not produce truth from nothing. She showed contradictions. I fed her our stress map, Norris cell observations, compass readings, phantom crossings, and current pressure. Iris covered the chart in thin lines. Most routes folded back into themselves. One narrow path remained open for 11 minutes before becoming unstable. Lena studied the markings. Is that a safe route? Iris wrote 2 words. Lowest contradiction. Comforting, I said. Bran looked from his tower shield. It is adequate. I transmitted the route as a chain of short packets. No vessel received the entire path. Each corridor cell moved only after the next visually confirmed position. The first 4 ships crossed. Then a ghost frigate appeared on top of them. Iris marked the route red. Jace shouted through the channel. They are turning toward the false fleet. Lena saw the physical problem first. The route is correct. Their masts are following a different wind. The trial had stopped lying to the compasses and started lying to the sails. I ordered every vessel to reef canvas and use manual drive or towing lines. Half the corridor lacked engines. Fortune's wake moved to the front. We attached tow cables in groups, never more than the armor belt could bear. True Bearing identified the single dangerous load point after each connection. Iris marked every repeating current. Bran guarded the tethers when ghost shapes crossed them. For 18 hours, we pulled independent rafts through a path no one could see. The last cell cleared just before Iris's route collapsed. The corridor emerged into open gray water beneath one honest sun. People cheered across the channels. I did not. The ghost fleet still surrounded the region. We had escaped one spiral, not the trial. Worse, the western current ahead had accelerated while we were trapped. Iris drew a thick black arc across the chart. Sector migration. At the far end of the arc, one route remained stable. It led directly through harbor chain territory. Silas Crow announced the rescue route 7 minutes before the Abyss storm warning became public. His face appeared across regional chat in perfect light. The white and black naval coat was immaculate. His swept-back dark blonde hair had not moved despite the wind on his dreadnought's command deck. A silver chain clasp shone at his throat. The harbor chain has secured the only stable passage through the coming migration, he said. All vessels may apply for protected transit. Food, water, towing, and repair advances are available. No survivor needs to face the storm alone. The words were calm, generous, and technically true. The attached contract transferred navigation control, 20% of future exchange income, salvage priority, and compulsory defense service until the debt was cleared. The interest rate changed with storm severity. 30 seconds after his message, the system posted the countdown. Abyss storm arrival, 6 hours. The sky to the west darkened from blue to deep violet. Pressure dropped fast enough to make my ears ache. Beneath the surface, long pale lights moved upward from the abyss. Iris marked every route we supplied. All but one collapsed beneath ghost fleet contradictions and migration currents. Silas controlled the remaining passage. Nora opened a private channel. Applications are flooding his board. People know the price and are signing anyway. Because the alternative looks like death. At the moment, it may be. Lena leaned over Iris's chart. This migration is too clean, meaning natural current shifts spread load. This one compresses every vessel toward a single stable line. She pointed to 3 repeating stress marks. Someone seated anchors along the eastern boundary. Jace went silent on the channel. What? I asked. He swallowed. Harbor chain survey crews installed deep current stakes last week. They told us it was storm preparation. Iris added the information. A pattern appeared. Stakes placed at key current junctions, not to secure the route, but to collapse alternatives when the sector migrated. Silas had not created the Ghost Fleet trial or the Abyss storm. He had used advanced observations to turn them into a funnel. His rescue was real. So was the hand closing around everyone who accepted it. Can we remove the stakes? Lena asked. Iris marked the eastern boundary. Time. Insufficient. Can Fortune's Wake force a second passage? Nora asked. True bearing lit beneath Lena's hand. She studied our completed navigation assembly, then the armor load, tow capacity, and storm pressure. Not at level 4, she said. We can guide maybe 12 vessels. More than that. The keel failure transfers through the workshop bulkhead. There were 83 verified ships in the corridor network and hundreds more moving towards Silas. I could save 12. Silas could save nearly everyone by converting them into property. He called me privately. Kai, he said, this is the moment idealists usually discover logistics. You placed the current stakes. I prepared for a predictable migration. You blocked every route you did not own. Unmanaged routes kill people. Centralization prevents panic. Then open the corridor without ownership claims. And allow undisciplined captains to congest it? No. Responsibility requires authority. His dreadnought appeared on the horizon, larger than any registered vessel I had seen. It was still below the final Fortune-class scale, but its linked armor, white chain sails, and escort formation turned the stable passage into a gate. Join me, Silas said. Your water network and my fleet could move every survivor in this region. Lena Shore would receive an engineering command. Your echoes would remain aboard your vessel. I am not asking you to kneel. You are asking me to hold the contract while everyone else does. I am asking you to choose survival over purity. The storm wall darkened. For the first time since I had refused him, Silas held an advantage too large to dismiss. If I rejected his corridor without an alternative, people would die for my principles. If I accepted, every transparent contract we had built would become a recruitment list for the harbor chain. I looked at the vessels around us. Patched sails, cracked decks, survivors who had traded their last dry food for resin and their last metal for water. None had asked me to become their owner. They had asked for a route. "Give me 1 hour," I said. Silas smiled faintly. "The storm will not negotiate. Neither will I." I closed the channel. Then I showed everyone the real numbers. We published Fortune's Wake's tow limit, the predicted keel failure, the remaining routes, Silas's complete contract, and the evidence of current stakes. No heroic promise. No claim that I could save everyone. Just the choices and their prices. The corridor chat became chaos. Some survivors called me a coward. Some called Silas a slaver. Many said they would take the harbor chain route because debt was better than death. I agreed with the last part. Anyone choosing Silas's passage keeps our threat reports and water prices, I told them. No punishment. No revoked seal. Make the safest choice you can. Nora stared at me through her channel window. "You are letting the network leave." It was never mine. That was when Jace transmitted a harbor chain maintenance chart. "There is a service channel beneath the stable route," he said. "Too narrow for their dreadnought. Survey cutters used it to reach the anchor controls." Iris marked the channel. Lena examined the pressure loads. "Level 4 cannot tow the network through it," she said. "Can individual vessels cross? If the anchor sequence opens the current in stages." "Who controls the sequence?" Jace pointed to the command ship beside Silas's dreadnought. The route existed. Silas had simply locked it behind his rescue gate. I opened a new contract packet. No debt. No ownership. Voluntary defense roles. Surrender offered to every coerced crew. The objective was the anchor controls, not the dreadnought. Lena read the packet and added one condition. Command authority. Kai Mercer and Lena Shore. Equal release keys required. I looked at her. "Shared invoice," she said. Outside, the first edge of the abyss storm touched the ghost fleet. Pale ships twisted through black rain and violet lightning. I signed the second key. For the first time, Fortune's Wake went into battle under 2 commanders. The maintenance channel began beneath a line of black water that every compass labeled solid reef. Iris marked the contradiction. Lena marked the load. Jace marked the patrol schedule from memory. Our force consisted of Fortune's Wake, Nora's reinforced deck, 6 independent cutters, and 20 smaller vessels waiting outside the combat zone for a route to open. No one had transferred ownership. Every captain could withdraw by sending one clear signal. The harbor chain command ship guarded the anchor controls behind 2 screens of contracted rafts. The outer crews looked terrified. The inner crews carried reinforced boarding gear and turned toward us before we entered weapons range. Silas had arranged the battle, so we would have to shoot through frightened people to reach committed attackers. I transmitted the surrender packet on every channel. Outer screen vessels, cut white chain signal lamps, and moved to the marked eastern water. You will not be pursued. Emergency tow remains available. Inner vessels receive the same offer if weapons lock now. The harbor chain commander answered with a volley. Harpoons crossed above the service channel. Bran blocked the first. Fortune's Wake's armor belt caught the second. The third struck an independent cutter's mast and tore its sail away. Lena took the damage board. Outer screen still has weapons cold. Do not return fire on them. Jace, signal the eastern exit. Jace raised an old harbor chain lamp code. Engine failure. Permission to break formation. 3 outer rafts moved at once. The command ship fired into them. One raft split at the stern. Its captain fell into the water. Nora turned beneath the next volley and collected him while 2 independent cutters laid smoke from burning resin pots. The smoke had no sound and added no future audio layer. On deck, it was simply another thing trying to blind us. The committed inner line accelerated. I fired at propulsion. Boundless Fortune found the best valid strike on the nearest attack cutter's exposed drive chain. Metal snapped. The vessel yawed without casualties. The second attacker used it as cover and rammed our port armor. Borders crossed immediately. Bran met them at his registered station. His tower shield became an amber wall. He could hold a narrow deck against superior numbers, but the station tether prevented him from chasing anyone who reached the workshop stair. Lena saw the route first. 2 going below. I intercepted them at the hatch. The first was a woman with a chain officer's clasp and no debt mark. She drove a short spear toward my injured shoulder. I caught the shaft, turned with the impact, and used the rail instead of strength. She went down hard and reached for a second blade. Yield, I said. She slashed my forearm. I knocked the blade away and offered again. Yield. Her partner dropped his weapon. She drew a system chargement for the core housing. I drove the collapsed founder harpoon through her armor before she could arm it. The charge fell dark. The system registered the death before I stepped back. PvP vessel conflict resolved. RAF core formed. The second attacker stared at the core light gathering above his commander's identity mark. She had a withdrawal route, I said. So do you? He raised both hands. There was no satisfaction in the new core. Only a requirement changing from 1 of 3 to 2 of 3. Above us, Lena ordered the captured ram vessel separated before its damaged bow tore our armor plate free. Her voice remained steady across 6 channels. She did not ask me whether I approved each tow angle. She gave the angles, and people moved. The command ship released its inner screen. 4 cutters attacked the independent vessels waiting outside the maintenance channel. Their captains ignored every surrender mark. Black contract tablets showed reward clauses rather than debt holds. These were not coerced recruits. They were hunters who had chosen payment for captured hulls. We fought through the storm edge for 40 minutes. I stopped counting attacks and counted choices instead. 2 crews locked weapons and withdrew. 1 abandoned its officer after he tried to fire on surrendering rafts. 3 committed crews kept advancing through disabled engines, damaged mounts, and repeated exit coordinates. 1 hunter cutter grappled Nora's deck and began dragging her toward the false reef. I put Fortune's Wake between them, cut the tow cable, and offered surrender. The hunter captain aimed at Nora's water tank. Lena released my firing key at the same moment I released hers. The founder harpoon crossed the gap and struck his command station. The captain died with his hand on the trigger. A 3rd RAF core formed. The system updated the requirement. Level 5 core requirement satisfied. Current verified cores, 3. I closed the window without opening the upgrade menu. The battle was not a materials delivery. People were still in the water. We recovered 12 survivors, including 5 harbor chain recruits. We stabilized 2 enemy hulls and returned control to surrendered crews. The committed attackers who lived were disarmed, given water, and placed under shared guard until the storm passed. Jace boarded the command ship with Lena's control team. Its captain had fled into Silas's inner formation, leaving the anchor controls locked behind a command seal. Can Luck open it? Jace asked. I inspected the mechanism. Not a chance event. It needs authority or the right tools. Lena placed her palm against the control housing. True bearing traced a pale line to 1 lower hinge. It is stable, she said, and its single dangerous failure point is embarrassingly accessible. Bran hit the hinge with his shield from the edge of his boarding tether. The housing opened. We released the deep current stakes in sequence. Across the chart, the service channel widened. Independent rafts entered in cells while the abyss storm struck the outer sector. Silas's dreadnought remained beyond weapons range. He could have attacked. Instead, he watched hundreds of survivors choose a route he did not own. His private message contained 1 sentence. You have confused temporary gratitude with order. I looked at the 3 core lights registered in our keel. No, I told the empty channel. I confused nothing. We had acquired what level 5 demanded. Now we had to decide what kind of ship those deaths would build. The level 5 blueprint offered power in the shape of central control. The default frigate design placed navigation, defense, engine authority, and corridor signaling behind 1 captain's station. It was efficient. It was also exactly the kind of system Silas would build. Lena studied the completed projection until true bearing illuminated a fault running from the chart station through the pressure-rated lower deck. There, she said. The design is structurally stable, but one command failure can blind every station. Iris marked the same line. Central dependency. Bran rested his shield beside the defensive console. A single command point is easier to defend and easier to capture, Lena said. We had enough raft cores. We did not have enough abyss iron, pressure glass, storm copper, or time. The storm had pushed us into a temporary calm between false currents. Iris estimated 9 hours before the Ghost Fleet spiral closed again. I opened the exchange and built a material request with transparent upgrade terms. Contributors would receive water, repairs, or future corridor priority at posted values. No one would receive ownership of Fortune's Wake, and we would claim no ownership of their hulls. Offers arrived slowly. People were tired. Some had just escaped contracts that turned every gift into a hook. They did not trust a new compact because I named it open, so I published the inventory ledger. Every material, every promised repayment, every core, every projected module, even the structural risk Lena had identified. Nora called me immediately. You listed your fatal weakness. I listed the blueprint's fatal weakness. Silas can read. Then he knows we are fixing it. The first offer came from Suri, the survivor whose hidden salvage clause we had exposed. She contributed 6 pressure glass plates. Holt followed with towing cable and a note that clean contract number 2 should count even if I remained irritating. Then the offers multiplied. Jace delivered storm copper from the command ship stores under a public salvage ruling. Nora assembled small contributions into usable lots. Independent engineers sent alternative station diagrams. Lena rejected most of them, combined 3, and designed distributed release keys linking the chart room, defensive station, engine room, and damage control board. No single person could open every corridor or seize every module alone, including me. We worked through the night. My shoulder worsened until I could no longer hide the tremor in my hand. Lena took the wrench from me without a word and pointed toward the galley. I can still work the ledger. You can sit while working the ledger. A dangerous precedent. I intend to centralize control of the chair. I sat. She cleaned the reopened cut on my forearm, rewrapped the shoulder, and made me eat half a ration bowl while she reviewed brace calculations. I watched the mustard lining at her cuffs move over the page. Your ribs? I asked. Improving. Your calf? Also improving. You are hiding exhaustion. Yes. The answer stopped me. Lena set down the chalk. I am not asking permission to be tired. I am telling my co-commander the current state of a shared resource. You are not a resource. Neither are you. Outside the galley window, ghost ships moved through the dark like pale thoughts. The real corridor vessels held position around us with lamps dimmed. Bran's amber glow remained steady at the bow. Iris's silver marks traveled across the navigation glass. I know how to plan for losing supplies, I said. I know how to plan for losing a trade, a module, a route. Every time I try to plan for losing you, the numbers stop being useful. Lena did not look away. Then stop using loss as the only model. That feels irresponsible. It feels frightening. She reached across the table and rested her fingers on my wrapped hand. Those are not the same thing. For once, I did not make a joke. We sat through one quiet watch with our hands together while the unfinished frigate grew around us. Nothing dramatic happened. No system achievement appeared. The ocean did not reward honesty with better weather. I still felt something in the ship settle. When we returned to the workshop, I changed the command registration. Lena Shore became Equal Release Authority for navigation, structural locks, and emergency corridor control. The system accepted the change without comment. She read the window. You are sure? No, good answer. I am learning. The final blueprint no longer looked like Silas's order. It looked slower, more complicated, and much harder for one person to own. True bearing traveled through the projection again. The central failure line disappeared. Stable design, Lena said. We can build it. Iris covered the outer chart in black marks. The Ghost Fleet spiral had reached us early. Before we could register level 5, we had to break a trial that no longer contained an honest horizon. At the center of the Ghost Fleet, Every route led back to the first dead ship. Iris proved it by layering 73 hours of observations over the chart. Pale hull crossings, false suns, remembered shores, rotating winds, and duplicated coordinates all repeated around one moving wound in the ocean. The wound was not a place. It was a sequence. Every 11 minutes, 3 navigation signals became briefly consistent. A compass aligned with current pressure. A ghost wake matched physical water. A dead ship cast one honest shadow. Then the trial rewrote the relationships and began again. "We do not need a true map," I said. "We need the moment the lies agree." Iris wrote, "Calibration window." Lena traced the pressure diagram. The window moves through real structures too. When it reaches a hull, every false load becomes one actual load. Can the ship survive it? Most cannot. That was the trap's final mechanism. The trial lured survivors with personal ghosts, scattered them with false coordinates, then synchronized every contradictory current into a single crushing wave. Fortune's Wake could survive the load only after the Level 5 registration. The Level 5 registration required construction in stable water. Stable water would not exist until we broke the loop. The ocean had produced a perfect circular expanse. Boundless fortune could not erase requirements. It could influence chance events inside our registered hull. So we created one. We installed the 3 pressure glass lenses from Iris's salvage cabinet into the incomplete chart station. Each lens could accept one of 12 calibration angles. Only one combined alignment would reveal the repeating wound during the 11-second window. Choosing by calculation would take hours we did not have. Choosing through a randomized station calibration inside Fortune's Wake made it a valid chance event. I loaded every observation into Iris's chart. Lena locked the station's physical alignment. Brand braced the cabin. Then I initiated the roll. The lenses spun. Boundless Fortune settled them into the best valid configuration. A silver path opened across the chart. It did not lead away from the ghost fleet. It led straight through the largest phantom dreadnought. Lowest contradiction? I asked. Iris wrote, "Only exit." We transmitted the plan to the corridor cells. No one liked it. The phantom dreadnought looked solid enough to crush a level 4 hull, and voices called from its decks using the names of people each survivor had lost. Nora answered first. "I have followed worse financial advice." Jace followed. "The harbor chain route is closing behind us." One by one, the cells locked their signal lamps. We entered the repeating sequence. At minute 1, compasses failed. At minute 3, the false harbor appeared on both sides. At minute 5, wind reversed without moving the water. At minute 7, Rusk stood on the phantom dreadnought's bow and asked how many cores I had collected. At minute 9, every lost voice in the corridor began calling people home. Lena took my hand off the audio channel. "Do not answer." "I know. I am reminding both of us." At minute 10, Iris's marks vanished. For 50 seconds, we navigated from memory. Brand called real impacts. Nora's cells repeated visual confirmations. Lena counted structural stress aloud. At 11 minutes, every lie aligned. The phantom dreadnought became solid. So did the crushing current behind us. I drove Fortune's Wake toward its hull. The dead figures along the rail lifted their faces. Rusk stood among them. Beside him appeared people I had known only through canceled trades and silent identity marks. The trial offered guilt in whatever shape fit the viewer. Then Iris drew one silver line through the dreadnought's center. It was not a wall. It was the boundary between 2 repeated images. Lena released the forward armor locks. Bran angled his shield. I fired the founder harpoon into the seam. The best valid strike widened a flaw that already existed. Fortune's Wake entered the phantom hull. Cold erased the deck. For one breath, I stood on 4 planks again. No armor. No water plant. No Lena. No network. Just one day of food and a survival estimate near 0. The trial wanted me to believe everything built afterward was temporary. Then Lena's equal command key lit beside mine. Brand's station glowed amber. Iris's chart cut silver through the dark. Behind us, independent vessels held their own routes. The The 4 planks were where I had started. They were not the only truth I owned. We broke through the far side. The synchronized current struck. Lena called the load sequence. I released ballast. Bran held the forward station. Iris corrected each repeating turn. The armor belt bent. The workshop bulkhead screamed. One tow cable snapped, and Jace crossed the gap to reconnect it before the separated raft fell into the black current. The corridor followed us through. Behind the final vessel, the Phantom Dreadnought split along the silver seam. Every pale ship on the horizon turned toward it. False coordinates collapsed into one bright point and disappeared. The system removed the trial window. Ghost Fleet trial cleared. Founder achievement qualified. True Horizon. Sea Law selection pending level 5 registration. The real Horizon returned beneath a clean blue dawn. People laughed, cried, and argued over whether North had always looked that way. I looked at the damaged level 4 hull, the completed frigate blueprint, and the 3 raft cores glowing deep in the keel. We had broken the false horizon. Now we had one chance to decide who would own the real routes after it. The Ghost Fleet disappeared, but Silas's contracts remained. Without false coordinates hiding them, the harbor chain formation filled the eastern horizon. Escort cutters, debt rafts, repair barges, and the core dreadnought at the center. Hundreds of vessels had survived the abyss storm through Silas's route. Their captains now owed navigation shares, labor years, or future cores. Silas opened a regional broadcast. The trial is over. Return to assigned formation. Unauthorized departures will lose protection priority. The word protection carried more force than a weapon. People had watched the storm erase unprepared rafts. They knew Silas's passage worked. Many hated the price and stayed anyway. We could not free them by announcing that fear was irrational. So we offered evidence. Nora published the corridor packet used during the trial. Expiring coordinates, distributed broker keys, visible rescue prices, surrender routes, and the full material ledger behind Fortune's Wake's upgrade. Iris converted the verified Ghost Fleet observations into route fragments any navigation station could check. Lena added structural limits, so captains knew which storm loads their hulls could actually survive. I attached one final rule. No member transfers ownership of hull, labor, water, blueprints, or navigation as the price of membership. The Open Wake Compact began as a file small enough to fit on every Level 1 interface. We tested it before asking anyone to trust it. One rescue marker led to a raft with a failed purifier and no trade goods. The nearest compact vessels delivered water under the emergency waiver, logged the actual cost, and left without attaching a future claim. Another marker came from a captain who had faked engine damage to obtain free fuel. Nora exposed the repeated telemetry, suspended his verification access, and published the steps for restitution. No one seized his raft. No one pretended fraud was harmless. The difference mattered. A rule that punished only enemies was not a rule. It was branding. Lena insisted on a structural disclosure clause. Any vessel guiding others through hazardous water had to publish known hull limits. Jace added a protection for coerced recruits who surrendered before firing. Bran contributed one sentence in his usual style. A defended exit must remain an exit. We added it exactly. It had no capital ship requirement, no permanent commander, no mandatory patrol fee. Members agreed to verify contracts, honor surrender corridors, share disaster warnings, and defend marked rescue lanes when able. Fraud removed access to shared verification until restitution. Leaving required no payment. That is not a fleet, Jace said. Good, Nora replied. Fleets keep trying to invoice me. The first signatures came from ships that had crossed the maintenance channel. Then Surrey joined. Burin joined and immediately submitted a complaint about the restitution language. 3 harbor chain debt rafts requested observer access without signing. Silas revoked their navigation priority. The punishment proved our point faster than any speech. One of the rafts broke formation. Harbor chain escorts moved to intercept. We transmitted a verified path and sent no warship, only 2 towing cutters and a water tender. The escaping captain kept his deck, paid a posted fuel cost, and joined the compact after reaching open water. 6 more rafts followed. The harbor chain began jamming route packets. Iris marked the interference sources. Lena organized relay positions. Nora split the compact file across ordinary exchange listings disguised as rope, fish, and repair offers. Every time Silas blocked one source, 5 survivors copied it elsewhere. He had built control around scarcity. Information became abundant faster than he could confiscate it. Jace contacted people he had served beside. He did not call them cowards. He told them exactly which debt clauses would trigger, which officers accepted surrender, and which exit routes remained outside the dreadnought's firing arcs. Some stayed. Some were loyal to Silas. Some believed centralized command was safer. Some had families on linked rafts and could not risk separation. The compact did not become honest by pretending every trapped person wanted the same choice. Then Silas ordered his regional command ship to seize Nora. The vessel that attacked was heavier than the patrols and carried experienced enforcers. It ignored the public withdrawal corridor, disabled 2 compact relays, and drove directly toward Nora's deck. Fortune's Wake intercepted. Our level 5 registration had not begun. The new modules were assembled but inactive, their weight pressing on a level 4 keel. We were slower than the command ship and 1 hard turn from structural failure. We cannot win a chase, Lena said. Then we stopped making it a chase. We separated the compact relays and left an apparent opening toward Nora. The command ship accelerated into it. Iris marked its only consistent route. Lena identified the stress point where its reinforced bow transferred load into the engine housing. I published surrender terms before arming the harpoon. Half the enemy deck locked weapons. Their commander fired anyway. The shot struck our mast. Blue and gold sailcloth tore across the sky. Bran held the falling rig away from the navigation cabin, while Lena released emergency armor clamps. I fired into the command ship's engine brace. The best valid strike broke propulsion without rupturing the hull. Compact vessels surrounded it, but did not board. Choose your own captain, I transmitted. Keep your ship. Release the debt prisoners below deck. The harbor chain commander ordered his crew to scuttle. His engineer refused. The crew removed him from command themselves. Below deck, they found 19 survivors held as collateral workers and 3 sealed contract archives proving manufactured rescue fees across the region. We published the archives. The harbor chain formation began to break. Silas could still destroy many of the departing rafts. He did not fire. Too many observers were watching, and his authority depended on the claim that his violence was protection. Instead, the dreadnought withdrew toward deep water with its loyal core. The regional chain marks vanished from dozens of sails. No one transferred those vessels to me. That was the victory. Fortune's Wake began the level 5 registration surrounded by ships we did not own. The 3 raft cores entered the reinforced keel one at a time. Rusk's core anchored the defensive lattice. The 2 new cores powered navigation redundancy and the pressure-rated lower deck. I recorded the names and circumstances in the public ledger. I refused to turn them into anonymous fuel. The system counted materials without judgment. Level 5 frigate requirements met. Registration will expose current sector for 12 hours. Founder achievement True Horizon will resolve after registration. Confirm? Our location was already known. The danger was not the broadcast. It was the upgrade load. Lena placed one hand on the central brace. True bearing spread through every completed module. Pale light traced the dark blue keel, low armor belt, workshop, water plant, 2 private cabins, galley, navigation room, Bran's defensive station, Iris's chart station, and the unfinished lower deck. One line turned red beneath the stern pressure chamber. Fatal point, she said. The rear brace will shear when the hull expands. We had installed it exactly to blueprint. Can we reinforce? Not enough space. We have to move the load before registration. The harbor chain dreadnought turned at the edge of range. Silas had waited for the moment our structure could not move. His loyal escorts advanced. Bran raised his shield. Iris marked incoming routes. Compact vessels offered defense positions, but Lena rejected the first formation because their wakes would increase pressure on our damaged stern. She reorganized the entire line in less than a minute. Nora, take the western relay. Jace, hold 2 hull lengths behind our port quarter. Light cutters form a broken arc, not a wall. Leave the south channel open for surrender. No one looked to me for confirmation. I felt pride before fear could price it. Silas appeared on the public channel. You have assembled frightened vessels around an unfinished ship. Cancel registration and surrender the founder rewards. I will honor every crew that withdraws now. Honor how? I asked. With service years? With survival. They already own that. His escorts fired. The compact formation bent instead of breaking. Light cutters moved through prepared gaps. Nora relayed threat marks. Jace used harbor chain lamp codes to identify coerced crews and offer the open southern channel. 2 enemy vessels took it. 3 continued toward us. Bran blocked boarding lines while independent harpoons disabled weapons. We did not need to destroy every attacker. We needed 9 minutes for Lena to move the stern load. I crawled with her into the pressure chamber. The space narrowed around the unregistered lower deck. Storm copper lines glowed overhead. The red brace was wedged between the engine frame and a pressure glass bulkhead. When we release it, the stern drops, Lena said. The temporary support has to catch the load in under 2 seconds. Chance involved? No. Timing. Luck would not help. We positioned the support together. My injured shoulder barely held. Lena's ribs made every breath shallow. Neither of us suggested the other leave. Above us, an impact shook the hull. Bran reported, boarders repelled. Armor integrity 68%. Iris marked the next attack route through the cabin display. Lena counted down. We released the brace. The stern fell. I drove the support pin while Lena aligned the load plate. For 1 second, the engine frame pressed hard enough to bend the tool in my hands. Then the plate seated. True bearing flashed through the hull. The red line disappeared. Stable, Lena said. We returned to the navigation cabin as the final escort prepared to ram. The cabin windows showed a battle larger than our deck. Compact ships were not holding a perfect line. They were making hundreds of small decisions without waiting for one command. A water tender moved behind a damaged cutter before anyone ordered it. 2 former harbor chain rafts recognized an officer's false surrender code and warned the eastern cell. Nora shifted relay traffic away from a jammed marker. Jace opened the southern exit wider when 3 enemy crews cut their lamps. Silas tried to overwhelm the network with conflicting orders. Forged messages used my identity mark. Others claimed Lena had canceled the registration or that the safe exit led into a minefield. Iris marked the contradictions, but she could not erase them. The compact's verification rules did that. No route change became valid without distributed markers. No emergency command from Fortune's wake overrode local hull safety. Captains compared the claims, rejected the forgeries, and kept moving. Silas's centralized fleet was faster when every order was true. It became brittle when the orders fought each other. The final escort forced its way through the broken arc by pushing a surrendered cutter ahead of its reinforced bow. People remained aboard the smaller vessel. They are using it as armor, Nora said. Lena studied the approach. The tow connection is carrying the full collision load. Break the upper cable, and the cutter rotates clear. The angle was narrow. A miss would strike the hostages. My shoulder could not manage the manual sight. I moved toward it anyway. Lena blocked me with one hand and took the control. My angle, she said. I released the firing key. Her shot cut the upper cable. The surrendered cutter swung away from the escort's bow and crossed the open southern channel, where compact vessels caught its trailing line. The people aboard survived. The escort continued alone. Its captain broadcast a final demand for us to surrender the course. Behind him, 2 crew members tried to unlock their stations. He sealed their controls and accelerated. Withdrawal remains open, I said. No answer. Bran shifted every available defense plate toward the impact point. His amber form brightened until the square beard and armor edges became hard lines of light. "Station prepared," he said. Iris wrote one route across the chart. "Impact inevitable." Lena checked the repaired stern load, the growing registration field, and the distance to the escort. "If we move, the support tier's free. Then we do not move." The choice no longer belonged to me alone. I opened the equal release window and placed my hand on the first key. Lena placed hers on the second. Its crew ignored surrender, warning shots, and a disabled forward mount. The captain had locked every subordinate control. Fortune's Wake could evade or complete registration, not both. Lena placed her release key beside mine. We confirmed together. The system expanded the registered boundary. Dark blue armor unfolded along the hull. The pressure-rated lower deck sealed. Long-range navigation arrays rose around Iris's station. Brand's defensive lattice extended across coordinated hardpoints. Engine power traveled through distributed controls instead of one captain's chair. Fortune's Wake grew into a level 5 frigate beneath our feet. The attacking cutter struck the new armor belt and stopped. Its bow collapsed without piercing us. Compact crews recovered its survivors. The captain lived long enough to see the ship he had tried to break become the strongest independent vessel in the region. The system broadcast the achievement. First level 5 frigate registered. Founder Mercer and CO Command Authority Lena Shore. Sector broadcast active. Silas's dreadnought held position for 1 silent minute. Then it turned toward the endgame resource zone. He had lost the region. He had not lost the war. The True Horizon achievement offered 3 sea laws. The first gave one registered fleet owner permanent priority over all navigation beacons they constructed. The second reduced travel costs inside faction-controlled corridors. The third allowed any survivor to verify a safe corridor packet through distributed public markers, while preventing a single vessel or faction from revoking access after publication. Boundless Fortune had guaranteed that the best valid option appeared because the reward roll resolved inside Fortune's Wake's expanded hull. Luck did not choose for me. I read every consequence with Lena, Iris, Nora, Jace, and the compact observers. The third law made false routes harder to sell and safe routes harder to monopolize. It also meant my own ship could not privately withdraw a public corridor once verified. Power we gave away would stay given away. That is the point, Lena said. I selected it. Safe Wake law enacted. Verified disaster corridors may be published through distributed markers. No single owner may revoke verified public access. Across the region, navigation windows changed. Iris's ghost fleet route fragments became readable through ordinary stations. Compact relays lit one after another. Survivors who had never heard my name gained the same verification access as Fortune's Wake. The system announced a founder blueprint for a deep-pressure observation array, then returned to silence. No praise. No explanation. No promise that the next disaster would be fair. The Open Wake compact gathered around the Level 5 frigate in a formation with no chains between hulls. We repaired before celebrating. That was one habit the ocean had taught everyone equally. Lena directed armor work from the damage control station. Her sea green coat had acquired 3 new burns and 1 tear along the shoulder. Brand returned to his registered post after inspecting every defense line. Iris covered the chart with clean silver routes. Nora converted the captured contract archives into restitution claims. Jace took command of a surrendered cutter only after its crew elected him. He asked me whether that made him part of my fleet. No, I said. Your crew. Still no. Employee. Do you want wages? I withdraw the question. He became the first elected corridor warden, responsible to the vessels using his route rather than to my deck. At sunset, Lena and I stood on the new forward observation platform. Fortune's Wake was larger, heavier, and far from complete. The dark blue reinforced keel now carried frigate armor. The upper deck held coordinated defensive stations. Pressure-rated rooms extended below the waterline. The blue and gold sail remained above it all, repaired instead of replaced. Level 5. Not the final battleship. Not yet. The harbor chain's regional symbols were disappearing from the map, but Silas's dreadnought still moved north toward the Abyss resource zone. Loyal ships followed. So did several vessels carrying sealed debt registries we had not freed. Lena leaned against the rail beside me. You are counting them, she said. 31 confirmed. Possibly more outside Iris's range. You are also planning how to chase them. The Deep Crown Zone contains Abyss iron and the pressure cores required for level 6. That was not a denial. I looked at her. Warm sunset caught the freckles across her nose. The repaired mustard lining showed at her wrists. Her injuries were healing, but exhaustion still lived around her eyes. I am planning how we chase them, I said. She heard the word. We. Equal command. Shared risk. Full invoice. That sounds suspiciously like a partnership. A dangerous interpretation. She smiled, then became serious. Kai, we are more than trade partners. The ocean moved below us, bright and ordinary after 3 days of impossible directions. I know, I said. Do you? I know I looked for your cabin light during the Ghost Fleet because it was the only direction I trusted. I know every plan that excludes you feels structurally unsound. I know I do not want to keep translating that into contract language. Lena's hand found mine on the rail. Good, she said, because that last part was terrible contract language. We did not kiss. The moment did not need a faster conclusion to be real. We stood together while independent ships moved along routes no one could privately close. Then every system window in the region turned black. A crown-shaped light appeared beneath the ocean on the northern horizon. Deep Crown disaster cycle detected. Countdown, 29 days. Global threat, Crown Leviathan. Level 6, Deep SEA capability recommended. The peaceful channels went silent. Iris marked the countdown origin inside the same endgame zone Silas was entering. Nora transmitted a captured harbor chain order recovered from the regional command archive. Silas had issued it before retreating. All dependent vessels were to surrender stored raft cores. Crews without cores would be paired into forced conflicts until the dreadnought's assembly requirement was met. He had lost voluntary control. Now he intended to harvest the people who remained. Lena tightened her hand around mine. We go together, she said. I looked across Fortune's wake. Level 5 armor, open navigation stations, 2 echoes, a small galley, separate cabins, and a network that could survive without becoming our property. I had begun on 4 planks believing every risk needed one owner. Now the strongest thing we had built was a route no one owned at all. Together, I said. Fortune's wake turned north. Behind us, the open wake compact followed by choice. Ahead, Silas Crow was building a dreadnought from forced deaths. The Deep Crown was rising, and one final hull level stood between an open ocean and extinction. Part 2 was finished. The last battle was waiting.